as we got closer to Nazareth, we'd already heard about Jessica Lynch, but they were going to send us through there anyway. So we were getting ready to go through Nazareth, even though the battle was still going on. And right at the last minute, they stopped us that evening. We were going to go through there at night.
We were sitting outside of a Nazareth, and I see this little spy plane. I put my night vision goggles up, and I could see this little plane flying, and they were anti-aircraft shells were shooting at it and stuff. And I mean, there was just a heck of a battle. You could just hear it. It was right at dusk, and you could hear it because we were only maybe 7 or 8 miles away. The next morning, when it really hit us, when we were driving through, and then I remember we kind of were rolling up, and we kind of come across this first bridge, and I look up, and here's this Huey helicopter. I think there were 2 of them actually. They were kind of flying in a circular motion, and this guy's, shooting down into the city. And the next thing I know, I hear this, this noise, and I look out to my right. And this Cobra helicopter just drops out of nowhere and starts firing these missiles right above our heads. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on? It was just a real big shock.
As we come down over the first bridge, we actually, our Humvee just starts getting bombarded. And we just hear this boom, 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 boom. And I'm looking for holes in the Humvee. And here what it really was the Cobra over top of us. It was the casings, the brass from the Cobra over top of us falling down on top of our Humvee. So we were rather relieved to feel that, to see what that was.
We go through it, and there is intense fighting going on both sides of our vehicles, and we are looking all over. I mean, this is our first experience that said, hey, this is for real. And it's when we first experienced that intensity level that most people could probably never imagine. Fighting back and forth, vehicles getting hit, seeing what happens with the people as a result of combat, seeing the civilian casualties as well as the military casualties.
I mean, you're just like going, man, I hope I make it through it. I hope I make it through it. But we had Marines guarding Nazareth. They were securing it for us. And so, knowing a little bit what the Marines do, I felt a lot safer. Of course, they had the tanks, the helicopters, and things like that. But the most memorable thing of going through Nazareth is Marine captain was standing there. This guy has Kevlar cocked back. This guy's flak vest open. Standing in the middle of the road, stops my vehicle, and he says, I want you guys to stop here. Points down this alleyway like this. We're taking sniper fire down this alley, and I want you guys to get hit. And he's standing right in the alleyway. And I'm like, holy junk, this guy's nuts. And that kind of, in a sick way, put me a little bit at ease. He's comfortable doing that, then I don't have to be as nervous. But it's pretty scary. I mean, you got rounds flying everywhere. Abrams shooting right next to you. The Warthog airplanes coming in. The Blackhawks, the Apaches. I mean, and you're just driving.
This truck behind me, it's the one that got hit with a bullet in the windshield while we were going through there. It was Sergeant Blake driving it. And it didn't touch him. It hit dead center in the windshield and went out the window. Didn't have a scratch on him.
And what they would do is we would come up, and they would have someone come up, hold up like this, and they would light up the buildings. They would strafe the buildings up and down, on the far side. They would shoot right in front of us, and they'd be like, go. So you'd drive up to the next building, and then they would strafe the sides of the buildings, and that's how we went through the city. We suppress a fire on the enemy to kind of keep them down, keep them in the buildings while we, drove.
But the good thing is, everyone's, I guess, nervous, or scared. But I was scared, but I wasn't nervous, if that makes sense. I mean, I'm scared because, I'm in a traumatic situation. Anybody who goes in that situation says they weren't scared, they're lying to you. But I wasn't nervous because I had enough ability and enough confidence in my own ability as a soldier and my fellow soldiers that if something did happen to me, I'd be taken care of. And I knew that the instincts would come into effect, that I would know what to do without thinking about it, and I'd make my way through it.
Formation was probably almost a mile long, I would imagine, with all the vehicles. I think we had 86, 87 vehicles. And so it was, it took a while for us to get through that city.
So it wasn't the initial, oh, we'll just come over the bridge and just floor it and then make the turn. It was a crawl through Nasiriyah, which was kind of intense.
One of the things he said to me before he left was, the last thing I really want you to do is sit around and watch the news. Do not turn on CNN and watch it 24 hours a day, because every soldier that gets killed, I know you have an overactive imagination, and you will think that I'm dead. You will have me dead and buried 50 times in a week. Don't turn around and watch it. So I tried to avoid the news, just watching evening news. And I did a lot with the family support group at that time. And we tried the best we could, but it was always there. Because inside, I thought every day was just, I wake up and I just think, oh God, is this the day I'm gonna get a phone call, I'm gonna get a visit, from an Army official telling me, something happened. And I didn't want to have the kids thinking that too. I didn't want them living the same feelings that I was feeling, not to that degree. So you tried to make life, just for them. You get up, you go to school, you come home, you do your homework, we watch TV, we do whatever we have to do, and then we go to bed and we start over the next day. And that was an everyday thing, just striving for normalcy.
It probably was scary. I know we were scared. Did a lot of praying. Yeah, everybody was praying for everybody. And all the mothers, I met more mothers over the phone that I'd never met. And they'd come down to the store when they'd come in, Hostetler's mom and everybody. And, well, did you hear anything? Did you hear anything? And a lot of my customers knew that you guys were over there. Right. What'd you hear? What'd you hear? Hey, come and see the map.
Yeah.
This is thank you National Geographic. That's where I found it, and I started when you guys were down there. I pasted Stephen on a pen, and we didn't know which way you guys were going because there was some coming up this way on the low, until we found out you were traveling with the Marines. Well, then I knew.
When they told us we were a spearhead, I was like, what's spearhead?
So then I started putting pins whichever way you guys went.
Yep. Me and the mule going up to Iraq.
Trucking along.
Trucking along.
Yeah. So, of course, I had to add the little where in the world Steve Vogue. Yeah. I met a lot of mothers, a lot of, of their sons and daughters that were in the service, and we would call each other once we figured out, oh, your son or daughter's in the same 459th that my son. We'd get each other's phone number and said, well, we'd call if we heard from, like if I heard from Steve or he said anything that would be significant, I would call the other mothers, or they would come down to the store. I would see them down at the store every once in a while. So I met a lot of mothers that way, or, got to know them.
Were the other mothers worried too?
Oh, heck yeah. It's your child. You'd be silly if you weren't there'd be something wrong if you weren't worrying. That's just the way it is.
I was in Auburn at the house. We got everything moved in there, so yeah, tore it apart and remodeled the kitchen and the one bedroom in the living room, and worked most of the time. Yeah, lost a lot of weight.
Wow.
Yeah, I went from 240 to about 176 when she finally came back. Yeah, and she fattened me back up again.